This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
It's very exciting. She's currently shopping. She's not shopping for a car, groceries, clothes, a house.
Protected in the front yard.
She just happens to be shopping for another sanctuary for animals. I'm being very serious about that. She is the woman that created Scatter Joy Acres, which is just a wonderful, wonderful, true sanctuary for animals. And that is located in the state of Nebraska. But now she's in another state looking to, I would assume, duplicate what she's done. And that is connect animals with people, be a fixture in the community, and be a voice for animals as well. She's back with us, Joy Bartling, on the program. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Super. You're in Florida searching.
I am in Florida searching. Yes. Scatter Joy Acres has had great success in the Nebraska area. And, there's people all over the world that can definitely use our support with animals. And Florida is the destination where we are looking next to build another Scatter Joy Acres.
This pops in weird things pop in my head. So I'm wondering if this comes to be in Florida, when this comes to be,
there you go.
Said the man with a vision board of things that he feels he deserves on his wall. When this comes to fruition in Florida, will there be a amphibian section? Why? I think there's alligators, there's different animal life in Florida than there is in Nebraska.
There is. However, I have a stipulation of what animals can be part of our therapy program because I don't want to have to handle them. But there will be some amphibians, which we do already have now. We have bearded dragons and we have tortoises, but you never know what may, come in your front yard at whatever time. It's different in Florida than it is in Nebraska. We have possums and raccoons that come to visit where, yeah, my dad lives here, and so he has a gator in his backyard that's in a little pond off a golf course. So we call him Zeke, and sometimes he's here and sometimes he's not. So you always wonder, where is Zeke?
I think you want to know.
Yeah, you want to know where Zeke's at, right?
Yeah. Wow. So do you have a couple of call them leads, locations?
We do have a couple of locations. However, what we do, there are stipulations for zoning codes and things like that. So it's not like you can just go get 5-10 acres somewhere because different parts have them zoned residential. So we have to find the right location that is pleasing to us as well as to the zoning. And we are looking in the Naples area. We are pretty sound that that's the area that we want to be. And so that's where we're pledging for. This is probably my third trip down here looking at locations. So we're getting a little closer. My goal and my granddaughter's goal is that we don't have to spend another winter in Nebraska unless we want to go back to visit.
Okay, so when this happens, you would be in Florida, but Nebraska would still, the sanctuary would still stay there?
The Nebraska location will still stay, correct? Yes.
Wow.
And I will still be a huge part of that as being the founder, but we're grooming the next generation that needs to take it over. We're not here on this world forever. So we built something that is very amazing in the community and that is helping individuals. And now we're teaching those people or grooming those individuals that can, and they have the passion to be able to carry it on.
Pass the torch. Wonderful.
Pass the torch. Yep.
It has been wonderful. Many, many years. Many people helped and healed. Same for animals. And a lot of, I have to say the word, joy given to the community because of Scatter Joy in Nebraska. As you look to Florida, what's the secret? What's the secret to the sanctuary?
Being able to give people an experience that they've never had before. We have people that come to our Nebraska location because we have exotics that you can probably see at a national zoo, but you don't get to touch them. Where at our location, you get to go in and you get to feel them. People go in with our porcupines. You ever put in a porcupine, Steve? Do you ever want
No,
to pet a porcupine?
and and I would just not normally do that, but you can pet them by you.
You can pet them, yes. So we have African crested porcupines, and people actually go in and we get to pet the porcupines and they get to feel them. Capybaras, people can see them, but then when they go in, they realize that they're not as soft as they look because everybody knows that they're a giant rodent, right? And so they're kind of the same species as a guinea pig. They're just a larger version. And so guinea pigs are soft and, hairy and capybaras are not. They're more wiry, kind of like a pig. If you've ever felt a pig, they're kind of a wiry hair. And so, again, like we spoke about in one of our other times, we talked about our sensories, right? Sight, those are senses that we have. Well, when we get to feel, that's another emotion that we get to have within ourselves that we may not get to use if we don't get to feel and touch one of these animals.
Hmm. What was the biggest surprise or wake up when it came to the sanctuary? And if you want to pare it right down to a certain animal, like we're talking about, certain animals are not as soft or whatever, a big one for you, somebody that, has worked with animals for many years, or just in general, what stands out for you?
As far as working with them, was
Could
that
be
the,
any of the above, just like
yeah.
a big surprise.
Um, well, we used to lease reindeer when we first wanted to open up the options of doing reindeer events for individuals. Um, so reindeers have antlers, right? And
Hmm.
for years, I would go and put halters on cows and horses, and you lean your arm over their head and pull it up over their nose. Well, I had to learn real quickly that you have to turn your head when you put the halter on the reindeer because their antlers are going to poke you in the eye, right? So you have to learn the different body languages of these animals.
Hmm.
And reindeer were probably one of those animals that I had to learn that I'm in your space now. And it's not that you won't let me in it, but I have to be cautious of where your head is while I'm trying to put a halter on you. So it's safe for, myself as well as the animal.
Well,
Amazing animals. You get to teach them, no, people now are like, their antlers have velvet on them. They didn't realize that they're soft, and when the season gets closer, they start rubbing it on stuff because it itches and the velvet comes off. And then there's this beautiful antler, which isn't always beautiful because blood is what pumps through that and builds those antlers. So when the velvet comes off, the antlers actually have, blood streaks on them. And of course, they always do it just before season when you're getting ready to go out and play Santa with the reindeer. So you're washing them off and trying to get them to look nice. But yeah, reindeer were very interesting to learn about them, as well as, reindeer also come from the cold. Okay. And if you ever get an opportunity and you hear them walk, listen because they click. And so there's an old song that says up on the housetop, click, click,
click,
click,
click.
right? So we assume it's their hooves, right? That's clicking on the rooftop.
Yeah.
Well, caribou, they don't have any muscles from their hooves to like their knee because it's cold in the Arctic. And so it's tendons that are clicking when these guys are moving throughout the terrain. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Things you learn. Wow. That's like so cool.
Yep. So one more fun fact about reindeer.
Go.
Male reindeer usually use, kind of like white-tailed deer, they lose their antlers in the fall during rut, breeding season, right? Females lose theirs when they have their babies in the spring. So with all that being said, all Santa's reindeers were what?
As male.
They were all girls because the boys already lost their antlers
Oh,
before
because yes,
Christmas.
they had antlers.
Yeah, so Rudolph was a girl.
Haha.
Of course,
Rudy.
all females have to direct traffic and get us where we got to go because males never stop and ask directions, right? They always
Apparently
think
so.
they know where they're going.
Even on the antler side of things, like you said, they can be itchy.
Uh-huh.
And you said that even before we got to the part about the blood pumping through them. I wouldn't even think that. I would just think antlers are it's like an extension of a bone that that falls off. Never, ever would have even thought what you just said.
Yeah. How is it made? Yeah, it's made through blood. The blood vessels is what pumps through there. And they get
Wow.
bigger every year and they lose them every year. So
Okay,
yeah,
so that was my next question. Um, how large can they grow? And is it right to assume that that's only for a year and then they're gone?
it's only for a year and then they're gone and then they grow back. So babies usually have what we call little sticks. They have two little antlers and they have like one little tine off of it, like a fork.
Hmm.
And every year they grow, it gets, they grow more tines and more forks off of their antlers. So our oldest reindeer that we have is 5, and he actually has 14 points on his head that he carries around.
But that's only for a year.
That's only for a year. Yep.
So safe
And
to assume.
I assume at some point when they're older, it doesn't get any bigger, His has pretty much been the same for the last year. I noticed this year the tines look pretty much the same as they're going to be as they were last year.
But that's still huge.
Hmm.
And that's also in a very short period of time, essentially, that they're growing to that. They grow fast.
Yeah, they usually start growing in January, February, and by October, November, they're losing them.
And they're big.
They're big.
And that,
Yes, very big.
wow, stuff you learn. Oof. Does it ever get boring? Do you have those
No.
days where it's like, you're all right, I'm doing my thing. Yeah, or is every day a new adventure?
Every day is a new adventure because something always comes up. Or someone asks you a question and you get to teach them something about, an animal that you may have, it's normal day-to-day operations, but someone may come up with a question that, hey, why does this horse, have a halter on and why doesn't this one? Or why do the cows twitch in the summertime? I don't understand why they're twitching. Well, the flies are on them. They're trying to get the flies off because the flies are biting them. And because the weather is so dry, flies are looking for anything that they can land on. Eyes have water, so these flies are looking for water sources. So then you get eyes that are kind of like when we wake up with sleep in our eyes. So extra precautions that we have to take care of during fly season. It's part of life.
Mm, uh, I knew about the twitching. But that
Hmm.
I didn't know. No, I just assumed. So
Right.
I got that one right. Amazing. I feel as a society now minimize the importance of animals. And why am I saying that? You go back 50 years and you had the Endangered Species Act. And there was focus put on not just endangered animals, but just in general. And I feel we kind of lost touch with that. So you doing what you do keeps that in the forefront of how important animals are to our lives, our ecology, our everything, our environment. Do you feel that it's we need to take notice of animals a little bit more than we do?
More people need to understand that all animals were put here for a purpose. And we need to, it makes our world work. A lot of people come to our ranch and we have bees and they're like, well, why would you have bees? And I'm like, because bees pollinate. If we didn't have bees, you wouldn't have a lot of things you have in the grocery store that you go and just assume that it just shows up there. Kids that come out and, we have a display about how milk comes about. You know how many kids don't know that milk comes from a cow? They think it comes from the grocery store from the milk carton. Well, how do you think it gets there?
Uh, mm,
Education is key to understanding how our world evolves. And if they keep, back in the day, we used to look things up in the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? Now they just Google, what is it? We didn't have that luxury back then. But yes, we have to
Well,
educate
okay, so
everybody.
there's the good part about that is you can Google it. The bad part about that is we're so overloaded with information that just Googling, kid Googling to find out where milk comes from, they're Googling, looking for other things, playing games or whatever. The focus isn't there like it used to be. And I think we need to go back to that because animals are everything. They were here before us, and
Right.
it's so important. Everyone plays a role. I don't do politics. Lots of cutbacks happening right now, and I understand we got to trim some of the fat here and there. But when you eliminate major positions in some of our national parks, where they're watching, keeping an eye on the public to make sure that things aren't defaced or things aren't being done wrong, even to animals and the environment, we got a problem.
Right.
We have a problem there. Mm,
Right.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited for you down in Florida. Um, Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you found the place and it's going to happen soon. Call it in the next year or so. Where do you think you would be
Hmm.
right now? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being, yeah, 10 being I just signed the paperwork.
Well, we haven't just signed the paperwork.
No, I'm
So
not, I know you're
I
not.
would say I would say 7.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're on the path. We're on the journey. What's your website if somebody
We're on
wants
the
to learn more and
You
support?
bet. You bet. We would love to come and have you visit us at our website. Lots of great information on there, as well as the fun stuff that we do. And that is scatteredjoyacres.org. That is SCATTERJOYACRES.org.
Thank you for being here. Good luck in your quest. Got a good vibe
Yes.
about it. Yeah, very exciting and looking forward next time we get together.
All right. Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share. This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.